I appreciate everybody jumping on here. We've got about an hour to go to talk. I'm going to go for about 40 minutes or so. Feel free to jump in with Q&A. I'll leave plenty of time at the end to address any concerns or thoughts that you may have. I will say 90% of this is very fact. 10% of this is my theories and thoughts about where the world's going. So if you have any questions, concerns about them, please challenge me and ask me in more detail why I feel that way if I don't get there, but I plan on getting there. So we're going to spend a couple minutes on who we are, what we're doing, because we are not who we used to be. We're going to talk about Mitel. How did we get here? How are they killing the product? Why are they killing the product? What's their future? What are the alternatives out there? We're going to talk about the Mitel roadmap. It's still alive. It still works. And then more importantly, what everybody wants to talk to is teams, what we're doing for our customers, what it means to you, how you get there, the pluses and minuses. So, a little bit about us. So in 2018, we started in 2001. And by 2018, we had become ShoreTel's largest VAR on the planet. We were crushing at 600 plus ShoreTel premise customers. And we had, somewhat around 50 cloud customers. It wasn't as prevalent as it is today, obviously. Fast forward to 2022, work at home, COVID, et cetera, my base has been cut in half, but we basically moved them all to cloud. So that's been going great. I forecast a bit, I would say by 2024, our base will be cut in half again, but I would say a majority of those would go over to the cloud with us. So we're transitioning my whole company to be cloud focused, our company to be cloud focused. 30 seconds on where we came from. We started on the top left. We started doing Nortel 2001, picked up ShoreTel in 2006. Avaya bought Nortel. I thought I was going to die. Like, oh my God, my life's over. Best thing that ever happened to us, because then we got to sell a ton of ShoreTel. Avaya killed my distributorship. We went all in on ShoreTel. We bought Standard Tel's base of business. We bought ECS. We bought Planet IT. We bought Applied Systems. We bought Zoom Assist base. We bought ACP and a Genesis acquisition. So we made all these acquisitions for all this premise play. And then 27, we launched our cloud consultancy. Mitel acquires ShoreTel. I thought that was the end of the world. Searchlight, a private equity, acquires Mitel. I thought that was the end of the world. And every time something quote unquote bad happens, we get stronger and better. This year, we launched our consultancy, our CSM, customer success managed practice, we'll get to in a second. Our old logo, bringing voice and data together. I thought I was brilliant when I came up with that one. We sold a single product. We were an extension of ShoreTel. Well, fast forward to what we do. We connect the dots to the cloud, present. We are your advocate. I don't sell a product anymore. I sell multiple. We provide consulting services to get you and help guide you to the next generation product. We're redoing our website right now. My marketing person, or the new marketing person, looked at our tagline. So connecting the dots to the cloud. Well, what happens when all your customers are then in the cloud? So we're going to be changing our tagline to connecting the dots in the cloud very soon. Our client success manager engagement, right? We used to have customer success group, right? Client services group, and they handled premise-based Mac work. Very reactionary, very one-time, very transactional, but it worked because we had one product and that's what we did. Now our relationship has changed where our customer success manager has to be there for escalations, check-ins, updates, quarterly business reviews, bill audits, end user training, optimization, subscription, all the different things. Our relationship has changed now that we're in the cloud. How do we get you to the cloud, right? Our journey is more than a single product focus, right? We want to evaluate all the different things within your organization. We want to figure out who's right for you and how you do it. I've got a slide on this, evaluate here in a second. We want to implement this, and we're involved the entire time during the implementation for the kickoff, the planning, design, user acceptance testing is UAT, and the go live. Once we're done with that, we want to come back and we want to optimize, basically do an impact assessment, basically say what we said was going to happen actually happened. We want to enhance it and make sure we want to do surveys to your end users and do some strategy on how we can better make the solution we did for you work better. And then we want to transform. We want to continue to be your insights, your trends, innovation, provide roadmaps, and get you to the next generation technology for your digital transformation. How do we get you to a product? So we identify a product. What we do is something called a preliminary solutions assessment. It's a 50 question questionnaire that gets us to a basic UCAS recommendation of here are the 3 or 4 vendors we should choose. We all agree on a project and the scope of the project of what we're going to do for you guys. And then we go do the statement of requirements, which is a very thorough needs analysis, RFP, RFQ kind of a document. Spend hours interviewing your team and figuring out how everything works and where you guys want to go and what you want to do. We figure out who wants to come in, who we should provide this to. We do a solution provider evaluation, TCOs, ROIs, POCs, all those kind of things. We help with the contract negotiation. We're there to help implement. And then afterwards, we come back. What I talked about earlier is the UCAS impact assessment. So our business model's changed. We don't do phones. We're not the phone guys anymore. We'll still are for 300 of you that we do the phones, but we're doing other things. We're doing UCAS, Unified Communications, as a service. We're doing CCAS, Contact Center, as a service. With the providers on the left, we're certified direct implementers. We are certified resellers of the products in the middle. Again, this is our main swim lane. We still are very UCAS and CCAS centric. We are also doing a lot of cloud, MSP, managed service providers, collaboration and video. We're big Zoom fans. Cato, we're doing a lot of next gen networking, which is SASE and SD-WAN, data center, and we're really getting into doing some security with eCentire has been really big for us of late. So love to chat with you about all that. Now that's the shameless 5-minute plug for Packet Fusion. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of this. How do we get here? So 1996, ShoreTel was founded. 2007, 11 years later, they go public. Guess what happened on the day they went public? I can't, no one will tell me, but they got sued by Mitel. Mitel hated ShoreTel. Mitel sued ShoreTel. Their stock went from 13 to 7. That day, John Combs, the CEO, asked me to speak in front of 500 of their sales reps, and they were down in the dumps. They were so pissed, so mad. Like, this IPO was supposed to rocket and they got cut in half. So counter to what everybody was expected. I got up and spoke and I said, basically, if you're excited about the product, you just got a half price on ShoreTel. I'm buying more. And so I was a huge believer in the product. We won Partner of the Year. We did very well. They bought a company called M5 that got them into the cloud world. They could have integrated that better. They could have put it quicker. We could have made a transition to cloud quicker. Sure. All of that aside. Mitel made 3 veiled attempts to buy ShoreTel. Never happened. ShoreTel finally said, go sell yourselves to Mitel and get this done. They acquired them for $2 billion. Mitel had 0 cloud offering. The main reason why they bought ShoreTel was for their Connect cloud offering. What they say today is they didn't do their due diligence on the technology and it wasn't as robust, international, scalable, uptime, fault tolerant. Shame on them for not doing their own due diligence, but it cost 2 years of their time to stabilize the product to get before they could start introducing more features. Their stated goal when Mitel bought them is they wanted to be number 1 or number 2 player in the UCaaS industry behind, Ring and 8x8 at the time. But then something happened called COVID, which I'll get to in a second, and they were now a distant 5th and 6th. Searchlight, private equity, buys Mitel. So now we were able to see Mitel's numbers when they were public. And we can see how they're doing and what's going on and the trends. But now that they're Searchlight by private equity, they want their money and they're siphoning out different entities and realigning things, and they get to hide the P&L, which I get. So we don't know how they're doing. They basically fundamentally killed the product, which I'll get to in a second, Rex. So then what happened? COVID happened, and everybody went to work at home, and everybody's cloud practice went crazy. So our 500 customers at the time had to cloud enable a premise-based system, which was very difficult for us to do. So, a quarter of them quickly moved to cloud. The other quarter, we put some band-aids on them with some edge gateways and some VPN concentrators and some VPN, all that stuff to make them work at home. And the other half just kind of did nothing on their phone system. So big acceleration for all of us. But what happened was Zoom and Teams exploded. And now Mitel is a distance 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th behind 8x8, Ring, probably even PBX. I don't even know, 4 or 5 behind them, and Teams and Zoom are now number 1. So Microsoft Teams. So Ring Central, Searchlight says, hey, this product is not gaining momentum. This product is costing too much. We got to shut this thing off in 3 years. This is the cloud product. And they say, go sell yourself to Ring Central, put together something. So now we're taking our whole base of our cloud customers in Ring Central and moving them to Ring Central. I got a bunch of slides on this in a minute. And we're taking our premise-based customers and moving to Ring Central and others, which we'll talk about in a second. And then this year, Mitel formally announced, actually the formal announcement will come in about a month, but they announced it's the end of life for Connect. So the product that most of you guys are on today has been announced at the end of life is in 2029. So this is how we got there. Pretty crazy. What now? So Mitel Connect, end of life, 2029. New system sales end the end of 2023. I would ask, who's going to buy a new system, knowing that it's end of life? Still happens, believe it or not. Add-on licensing sales end sometime in the next couple of years. And again, these are all directional. The 6900 series phones currently supported by Ring Central and My Voice Business. The 400 series phones, literally, I should have changed my slide. Last week, we finally got ours. We've actually put them in. They actually work. They are, what's the right word? Not as feature rich as you would hoped. They're more simple dial tone. But the 400 series phone now works on Ring Central. Really cool. The ShoreTel and the ShoreGear gateways will be supported until end of life. That's big because there was some talks that the ShoreGear, the older half 1U half width boxes were going to go away, but they took that back. This is a pretty brutal one. You guys probably all got a couple point increase of your support from us. Don't blame us. I got an increase from Mitel. So we've had to unfortunately pass that on to our customers. All this is directional, right? These have been announced, but not officially certified by Mitel, which will come in the first quarter of 2023 with more 100% official announcements. One of the things they did for the cloud customers to make them go off quickly, that once they were off on their term, the original term of the contract, they raised their prices by 25%, forcing people's hands to get to another product. I would say the same thing they're doing on the Mitel Connect side of the house. They've given us a price increase for our support, which we're passing on to you. So I would imagine the support for partner support will only go up. So the value, why stay on it, right? There is the reason to stay on it. It still works, right? I mean, it's reliable. That's the truth. I mean, I see on here, we've got about 20 cities. We have about 50 cities under management. I see about 20 of you on our presentation today. It works. And if it works, why pull it out, right? Easy to operate, it's cost effective, lots of devices. There's actually more, there's a bunch of deck phones out now, large community. partners such as ourselves, and commitment. That's kind of a loose one in my eyes, but they are committed till 2029. So why standard support? So that's one, keep the product, but then why standard support, right? Software updates is the number one thing for me from all this, because the feature set itself, there's a couple more that are going to come out that were already in the works prior to them saying the product's an EOL, and they are coming out, which I got a slide here in a second about. But there aren't going to be a tremendous amount of feature sets coming out now for ShoreTel. So you're paying your support money for sustainability and just really OS fixes, patches, and security fixes, which, unfortunately, the system is a IP system. It's all integrated in on your network. You've got all these cloud-based applications touching it and work from home and all these things. It's impossible for us to isolate this and put it on its own little network like we could years ago, because it's so integrated that, there's all these vulnerabilities within it today that you need to upgrade and get currents, because they're still going to fight all the vulnerabilities. So software updates, security and compliance, and then there's some RMA for the older equipment. So when it breaks, we fix it. So what happened in this deal, right? So RingCentral and Mitel announced a formal relationship. RingCentral becomes the exclusive UCaaS partner for Mitel. RingCentral acquires something called CloudLink. It was some proprietary Mitel stuff they had in the cloud, and the theory was, before COVID, was, Mitel had 7 or 8 different product lines, and the theory was they were going to build these applications in the cloud, build it once, and consume it 7 different ways. Unbelievable, right? On PowerPoint, unbelievable story. I was hook, line, and sinker. I was selling the heck out of it. Never came to fruition. Well, there's some SMS, there's some chat that actually came to fruition, but it is what it is. So some intellectual property had to change hands, and some money had to change hands. So CloudLink went this way, $650 million went this way. So RingCentral paid, really Searchlight, Mitel, $650 million for the rights for this quote unquote CloudLink technology and the rights to move all these customers over. And then RingCentral pays Mitel residual over time. Part of this was $200 million of the $650 million had to go buy RingCentral stock. So private equity, who got $650 million, well, first of all, they spent $2 billion for Mitel, right? So the $2 billion investment, whatever that's worth today, now they got $650 million from RingCentral for it. So they got some of the money back, put $200 million in. That $200 million is now worth about $50 million or $40 million or $30 million because the whole tech sector got crushed. So Searchlight's not happy. And then Mitel gets residual. So the RingCentral experience. So why go RingCentral, right? The device journey, no one else is committed to putting the ShoreTel proprietary phones on a UCaaS product. Only RingCentral is. They've got some really nice, we did this before they even did it, but everybody has some nice migration tools. There's unbelievable incentives going on right now to get you there. And you can do self-service or professional services from us or from Ring. So that's the towing the customer line, because that's what Mitel wants me to tell you. And that's how Mitel says, this is how it should go down. And it's a great story. It is a wonderful story for the upgrade path. There is a great pathway for it, but it might not be the right path for everybody. So the options, what do we do, right? Number one, listen, the product's not going to just stop working. It's going to work. We're going to make sure it works. The product itself still works. So keep it. Let's keep it going till 2029. Even after 2029, we'll be able to figure out how to harden it and make it stable and make sure it still goes on. Option 2, Mitel really wants you to move to RingCentral. They get paid a residual for the lifetime of your contract if you do from prem to cloud migration from RingCentral. As I said, we've done probably 50 of them so far. It goes well. We've got it down. We've got it. The phones move over. The migration moves over. There's some unbelievable incentives. It's not right for everybody. We've been very successful moving everybody over to 8x8, Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, TPX, AT&T, which their AT&T's version, their cloud is based on Ring Central. So some pretty interesting stuff. So it's either stay on Connect, move to cloud, or Mitel wants you to move to, if you want to stay on-prem, they want you to move to their premise-based product, which is now their flagship product, which is called My Voice Business. It's the old Mitel 3300, Mitel Blue. It's a 25, 30-year-old piece of code that they put new code on, and it's this fancy new premise-based PBX. So Mitel in itself is now a premise-based PBX manufacturer provider. Sure, there's some private cloud stuff you can do with it too, but it's not multi-tenanted cloud. It's very proprietary, very hardened for them, and it works. So if you still want to stay prem, you want to get off Mitel Connect, ShoreTel Mitel Connect, we can get you to the My Voice Business premise. Your 6900 series IP phones move forward. Your 400 series phones, which now work on Ring Central as of this week, will be working on My Voice Business sometime in 2023. So you do have options. So what's happening in the industry itself, right? I still say premise is dying. Is it dead? It's not dead yet, but it's dying. It's not going in the right direction. So I look at Avaya, right? They've got some huge debt payment coming up, and it's scary. They want everybody to go to the Avaya Cloud Office, which is basically Ring Central code in their data center, and they're selling Avaya Cloud Office, right? Cisco, they don't want you to stay on their call manager anymore. They want you to go to WebEx. You look at Intertel, Toshiba, ShoreTel, Astra, Ericsson, they were all purchased by Mitel. They've killed every one of those products, and they want you to go to Ring Central, right? So who's left? I had to struggle for this one, right? Mitel, sure, probably the only viable large PBX manufacturer out there, if you still want to say premise, NEC, 3CX, Xultus, Asterix. I had to struggle to find these other guys. I don't advocate these, but sure, go look at them. I kind of threw the slide in there earlier because the left-hand side are you guys all have one of these three phones. The Mitel 200 655 is an MGCP IP phone. It will never work on cloud ever. The 400 series phone is an IP SIP phone, but it's Mitel SIP proprietary, or ShoreTel SIP proprietary, as well as the 6900 series. It's their own version of SIP. It's not OpenSIP on the right. So Mitel and Ring have done an amazing job and done a lot of work to get the 6900 series set and the 400 series set to work on Ring Central. And they've also done a good job getting the 6900 series and the 400 series to work on My Voice Business. On the OpenSIP side, right now, this is Poly, right? If you look at all the cloud providers out there, they don't make hardware anymore. The valuation's higher if they don't make hardware, which is crazy. So Poly, Astra, Yealink are the three primary manufacturers of these OpenSIP phones, and they're just basically going to arm all the providers. You put these phones on, and then once that happens, you can move from provider to provider to provider simply by porting numbers. It's super easy. I'm looking at a couple of questions here. One of the slides, Mitel will be ending add-on licensing around 2020. Does this include things like user licenses and SIM truck licenses for on-prem Mitel Connect system? Jason Christensen, yes. So when they end all add-on licensing, it's over. Their key system thing turns off. You can't add anything past that. So they'll give us plenty of time, plenty of notification. We'll give you guys plenty of time, plenty of notification for you to pre-buy or add on before that time comes. So let's keep going. So Mitel Connect, right? We're at 19.3 today. This is the one we're upgrading people to right now. And what's in 19.3? Well, it was in 19.2 with the patch is the Ray Bombs Act compliance along with some other really fun stuff, TLS 1.2, and we disabled TLS 1.0 and Director. There was some problems with, if you guys have all remember, the mobility handset, unbelievable product on, iOS 9.0 or whatever it is. I think we're on 14 on the iOS. They introduced something. So now when you're on your mobility call and a native iOS call came in, it dropped or it killed your call and you had to look at the call and delete it and then get back. You just do all this. It rendered the product unusable. That is now fixed, or it might be, if it's not now fixed, it's going to be fixed here in 19.4. So mobility will be a viable product 5 years late. OpenSSL, some new phones. There's going to be some new core stuff happening. But as you can see, this is a lot of technical debt just being addressed. And they're basically trying to stabilize the platform so that when you pay your support money, you're not dealing with technical issues. The days of, again, making up a number, your $10,000 support agreement, and every year you get this upgrade. Oh my God, look at this new feature. Oh, look at this. This is cool. Oh my God, wow. Those are over, right? This is now getting rid of the technical debt that we've amassed over the last 4 or 5 years. They're starting to square up some things, which we've been begging for these things for years, and they're finally doing them. So we're excited about that. One of the biggest things is this modern authentication. So Microsoft killed OAuth 1, I think it is, and you had to, you can actually sign up and get an extension for it. But you have to upgrade your Mitel Connect to get to OAuth 2, modern authentication, so that it'll interface with O365, all those kind of things, which I've got some information about that a little bit later. But it really only affects some like calendar integrations. It's not mission critical. It's more nice to haves. And quite frankly, most people turned off all these nice to haves on their Mitel Connect. The push notification for mobility, a lot new endpoints, OpenSSL. So what they won't deliver, which we're kind of bummed, client docking. When Connect came out, client docking went away. They vowed to bring it back, and they won't anymore. Voicemail for automated attendant. They had integrated voicemail in the little box itself. The ShoreTel 90V. That's not going to be put into the new ones. And this one's pretty big. Is SIP recording, SIP rec. Right now we use Tappy Wave, which has been discontinued for like, God, 4 or 5 years from Mitel. From Microsoft. And so we have difficulty with, on the ShoreTel Mitel Connect, we have difficulty recording and doing various things other than recording certain types of calls, like outbound calls. We can't record inbound calls. We can't break out the streams just because of the older technology that we're using and their inability to support SIP-REC, and they never will. So more questions. Do you sell My Voice Prem? We do not. I had to make a business decision of retraining my 50 people on premise-based, something that I feel like no one's ever going to buy again, or do I retrain them in cloud technology? And now I've got guys certified on 8x8, Ring Central, Zoom, Teams, Dialpad. We're integrated implementers and not full support where we're taking first level tech support, but we provide augmented services for all those. So that's the path we've chosen. I've got frenemies that own companies just like mine that have picked up and done the My Voice business. So anybody in my base, I'll give them the name of 2 different providers that are friends of mine. They're very respectable people in the industry, and we'll easily guide you that direction. TLS 1.2, this has been around for a while. The older short gear switches don't support TLS 1.2. The new switches do, as does virtual. Mitel wants you to get to virtual. They'll give you you trade in your old Shore gears and ShoreTels, and they'll give you the physical to virtual licenses through something called the pathway. If you still need physical and you got to get off the old boxes to the new boxes to get to have TLS 1.2, we'll give you this better discount than you already get. This is the deprecation of basic authentication. I'll send the slide deck to everybody. If it hasn't hit you yet, don't worry about it. But if you notice some things where you have to actually click a couple extra check boxes to get into things and contacts not working, this is big for a lot of other applications. So if it's hit you, it's probably already hit you. Carrie's Law, 911, on-site notification of someone dials 911. That's free of charge. Every one of you should have this. If you haven't contacted us, we'll get you the little application so you can have notification of people dialing 911. Checkbox, done. The next harder one is the Ray Bombs Act, where we have to provide a dispatchable location for every IP phone, and that means even soft phone at home. So you have to get to 19.2 SP1. We're upgrading people to 19.3 Service Pack 2, which that's already included in it. So if you're on 19.2, we can just put a little something. If you're not, we got to upgrade you to the current. And this allows you to have, when you do your soft phone, when somebody launches their soft phone through an edge gateway, it'll make them put their address in, and then through Red Sky or Intrado, which are third-party products, they'll do some IP mapping and figure out address and send it to the right piece app. It's mind-blowing. I don't have enough time. I should do a whole webinar on 911, Carrie's Law, and Ray Bombs Act. If you guys are into it, let me know, or contact us and we can talk to you for hours on this stuff. Check. If you guys get your phone out, you can scan this QR code. It'll take you to a video that kind of explains Mitel's 19.3, what it is, how it works, where we're going. And I'll come back to this at the end of this. So we're on. That's Mitel. What do we do? So we're going to kind of get into some teams right now. So cloud mistakes and concerns. I kind of softball this. This is really Teams. Here are the issues with Teams, right? Physical phones that are not very feature rich. Overhead paging with analog, right? Or just analog. Blue phones for some of my campuses. Conference rooms. Door phones. Special routing, police, fire, etc. These are for my cities. 911 dispatch centers, again, for my cities, faxing, call recording, call center, reporting, live tech support, eFax, SMS, and Ray Bombs Act. So we're going to address each one of these here in the next couple slides on how to do it better with Teams through other connectivity practices. It's now an OpEx versus a CapEx. Some of you are, about half of you on this presentation are government entities. Looks a little bit less than half, but our government entities, do you need to do an RFP? We've got some government vehicles we can talk about in a second. Or do we do a hybrid? And that's hybrid where you do some Teams in your Mitel Connect Prem, or some Teams with a third-party UCaaS provider providing some hybrid. And we're going to talk about all this right now for the next 20 minutes. Any other questions? Let's take a look at some questions here. All right. The IP, Tim Cummings, the IP 420. Great question. So the 420 today does not work on Ring or My Voice Business. Mitel is committed that they're going to get the 480 and 485 working, and then they're going to come back and do the 420. What does that mean? Is that 2024, 2023? I don't know. I can get that answer. What about call center reporting? Currently BrightMetrics, that's never going to go away. I mean, Jim Lewis, who owns BrightMetrics, I actually bought his 80 customers from ShoreTel customers 10 years ago because he was going to go do BrightMetrics. We have a great relationship. I don't see them. I mean, I don't see a lot of new features. They've actually ported BrightMetrics to My Voice Business, and they've also ported it to Genesis Cloud. We sell a lot of Genesis Cloud. We're a gold distributor of Genesis Cloud, so we're big fans of what they're doing. From what I know, I don't think, I mean, why would it? It's just sustaining. You're not going to get anything new. It just works. Here's Aaron. Does Ring Central support door box phones, specifically Viking Call Box? Yes, they do. Super easy. Great. So here's Teams. How does Teams work, right? You get your E3 or your G3. and you have to add a $7 telephony license, right? Or with G5, it comes with that telephony license. You either buy a la carte on the E3, G3, or G is government. So I just say that for my government customers here. Funny enough, over half my government customers still buy the E3 and not the G3s, whatever reason. The G5 has a telephony license amongst a bunch of other security stuff already included in it. So then you have to pick a PSTN calling plan from anywhere from $5 to $12 and $15 for international. So you're like 7 and call it 10, and you're like $17 to add telephony onto your E3 license. So this is using Microsoft as your PSTN. So when you hit 9 and you make a phone call from your Teams, it's going out Microsoft's network. They've built their own network and it works. Not denying that. There's a lot of issues, isn't the right things, feature degradation, it's redundancies, the things that we're going to get to in a second. Microsoft provides something called direct routing. And direct routing is basically like you picking your provider for PSTN access. Listen, I don't want to use Microsoft for my long distance carrier. I want to use one of these providers as my PSTN. Unbeknownst to the end user, when they hit 9, they don't really care if it's going Microsoft or it's going out LogMeIn, 8x8, RingCentral, TPX, etc. Right? So there's a relationship between all these providers and Microsoft where they can be the carrier for these guys. I've got a full slide on this coming up right after this. We go into incredible detail on direct routing. The other way to do it is do an embedded dialer. So what the pandemic has shown to me, I get to have some pretty cool conversations with CIOs of cities and enterprises, and it's what they've all come to the conclusion is, years ago when I told somebody I had this little embedded dialer to Teams, they would have been like, no way, it has to be Teams integrated. Everybody's going to get confused. There's no way. I launch another client. No way, that's impossible. But with the pandemic, people went to work at home, and guess what? They still survived with 2 clients, a voice client and a collaboration client. They still survived. They didn't get confused. And so we're finding that having the ability to just, when I find somebody, when I hit dial and another screen pops up for the actual dialer or inside of Teams, but it's made by RingCentral or somebody else's embedded client, it works. It's not that bad. And what you get rid of is buying that $7 license add-on with G3. Not everybody does this. There's only a couple people that do the embedded dialer. Most people are choosing to do the direct routing, pure and simple, forget the embedded dialer. If you want to live in Teams, go for it. But with the direct routing, you need the $7 Microsoft license. All right, we'll go back to the questions, see what else we got here. You said something about a 911 app you can provide for existing Connect on-prem. Charles, that was, that's no problem. It's the piece of software put on a PC. You can call people, we can email people if people dial 911. All right, so sorry for reverting back. I'm doing this solo today. So we've got PSTN by Microsoft. We've got direct routing by everybody else. And we've got Teams integrated embedded dialer. All right, so how do we do Teams direct routing? What is it? Why is it here? And where are we at with it today? DIY, do it yourself. So 5 years ago, if you wanted Teams telephony, Microsoft didn't have an answer. You had to do it yourself. You had to put an SBC on-prem, you had to hook up your PRI or SIP trunks to it, and you had to create your own little telephony network on the existing networks out there, but you were your own provider with SBCs and this craziness. PSTN access from Mitel, from Microsoft came out, but what they don't have, they only have like 20 countries. And for my big enterprises, they still had to have, one of my biggest enterprises has 3,000 people US and about 2,000 people internationally. They still have to maintain 13 SBCs locally at those remote locations internationally to get dial tone onto the Teams network so that they could have this cohesive, quote unquote, dialing plan. So there's still some DIY needed for international customers outside the footprint of PSTN access for any of these carriers. Second, we have a couple of customers who have this international issue too, still today, and they don't want to maintain their own PBX or their own SBC at that remote location. So Audio Codes has the ability to have a cloud-based SBC in one of their data centers. I'm sure it's, Equinix's data centers or somebody else's data center, but we can spin up an Audio Codes SBC that they'll manage, that you can then terminate a local in-country international trunk and then get it onto the Teams network. So Audio Codes also provides direct routing, so they can provide a holistic international solution. I see about 4 or 5 of you on this list that are here today, excuse me, are international. So if Teams is something of interest, generally there are 4 or 5 locations outside of everybody's homologation is the right word for Teams. So now we have integration with partner with PBX, right? So now the 8x8s, the Ring Centrals, the GoToMeetings, the TPX, all these players have decided to do direct routing, but they use a third-party service called Qnify Call to Teams. They've normalized the ability for you to connect your third-party applications with Teams. And quite frankly, we've done the same for Microsoft Prem, which I've got a couple slides here in a second, so it's pretty cool. So all these players use a third-party cloud-based SBC to normalize the relations between Ring Central and Teams. It doesn't really matter to you. This is just informational. Like the end user is going to click, they're going to have no idea where the call's being routed to and how it happens. It just works. So this is how the sausage is made. Direct integration with no PBX. These are direct integration. These are basically SIP trunk providers. So what the group above does is provides also redundancy. So if Teams goes down, you launch your 8x8 client and it's business as usual because 8x8 owns the DID, right? The people below this, these guys are just SIP trunk providers. If Team goes down, you're down. So if you need redundancy on Teams, because Teams does go down, you need to provide one of the UCAS providers as your third party PSTN access. Then you launch that UCAS provider's client and it's business as usual. So this is the overview of how Teams works today. Oh shoot, I forgot to do my polls. We're going to do some polls here, guys. Sorry. I'm going to launch my first poll. This should have been done a long time ago. How many of you plan on keeping Connect alive for another 3 to 5 years? And so I'll announce these at the end, so I appreciate that. I should have put this one out there a while ago. All right, that poll, good job, guys. We got about 54. All right, good. 50 people answered so far. That's a good little basis. All right, let's go back to where we were. Okay, so I got about half of you say yes. It's about 50, 60, 40. 60 say yes, you want to keep it alive for another 3 to 5 years. Oh, it's now 58, 42. And then the other 42% say no. So, I think half this presentation, I think I'm going to time this thing perfectly. Like half you want to get off and half you want to stay on. So I'm trying to blend this appropriately today. Okay, so we're going to end that poll. What else? Let's see here. I think I have another one here. Let's go Teams use. All right, there we go. Here we're going to do another poll. How many of you use Teams today? This is no telephony, just Teams. Oh, good. All right. Yes is killing it. 40, 50 people so far have said we're at 80-20. 80% say yes. Oh, 76. Oh, well, give me a second. I love the participation. This is awesome. 77% say yes, and 75% yes, 25% say no. So 25% of you are not using Teams today. All right, let's do another one. I think I have another one here. All right. How many of you plan on using Teams voice in the future? Well, I guess the no's. You feel free to answer and say no again, but let's. All right. We're 50-50. 50 more no's than yes. So a little bit more. So like this is like watching the newscasters on the Georgia vote, like going up and down, it's neck and neck. It's 59 no and 41 yes. All right, let's do one more since you guys are in such good moods. Where is it? Voice something. All right. Have you evaluated, or are you going to evaluate other UCaaS providers, Ring 8x8, Zoom, etc.? And then we'll get back to the presentation. So thank you guys. All right, interesting. Oh, you know what? I should have had one that said other providers for Teams integration, but maybe you didn't know what Teams integration it was before I started this. So, all right, good. About 50-50. So no on 53 and yes on 47. So thank you guys. That was awesome. I'll put the polls back over there and we'll keep going on the presentation. All right, let me go back here. All right, so, oops. So Teams is a cool thing. We love it, right? You cannot beat Teams for productivity, right? But what Teams falls short are for some enterprise campuses, cities, certain applications. For the knowledge worker, Teams is the right way to go. For the non-knowledge worker, the warehouse person, the fire department, this is for some of our cities and counties, you have a difficulty in these unique call requirements that Teams just doesn't do a very good job with. What we've been able to do is through a service with this call to Teams that I talked about earlier, I can have Teams coexist with your premise-based ShoreTel Mitel Connect system. So I don't have Ari on here, but Ari at Santa Rosa is doing this today, where he has an in-gate separator, put some code on there, a couple clicks, and he's got 20 users on Teams integrated with his 700 premise-based Mitel Connect users, all going out his AT&T CalNet SIP trunks done by us. And so he's getting his knowledge workers can get onto Teams in a fairly inexpensive way, very easy way to test it. He's probably not going to stay on this forever, but it's a good way for him to play with it and feel it. Other customers, when you get mandated by a certain group that I have to be on Teams, sure, let's put these 40 people on Teams, but let's keep our other 1,000 people on ShoreTel Prem, call it a day. Packet Fusion does some middleware work with this product called Call to Teams from Qnify, a couple bucks a month, super easy. And I have a trial basis where I can take a unit and put it on your premise, put it on your system, and let you trial this for really as long as you want. So super easy for us to do. And again, this is the ability for us to have Teams and Mitel Connect coexist. All right. So now what happens when Teams isn't the right solution for you because of all those things, the redundancy, the analog, the faxing, the reporting? Here's a good one. When you need a report, you have to select the report you need, and then it comes 2 days later. If you have tech support and you call into Teams, there's no live tech support. It's all email driven. There's no relationship. There's no nothing. If you want to have a Teams experience, you want to go through somebody like us to help you facilitate the right experience that you're used to, that you have with us, and continue on with something as opposed to being lost within Microsoft like you are with other applications. Or there's other providers that we can do UCaaS Teams hybrid. So right now, you can have a Teams client and a Teams phone on your premise, as well as remotely, right? Teams client, Teams user. was made for my cities, but you can have all of your stuff still on the customer LAN. That if Teams doesn't do this correctly, we'll do direct routing with, I'll pick 8x8. Why am I picking them? Because they were first up. So if you now have your telephony, your DIDs are at 8x8, they have direct routing with Teams. The person who's using his Teams client and he clicks dial, he has no idea it's going to one of these providers, right? You can also have now a 8x8 hard phone, UCaaS phone, and UCaaS client for redundancy, as well as a UCaaS client, UCaaS mobile client for redundancy. So you can have a UCaaS phone going to 8x8. You can actually have a Teams phone going to Teams, and you can have all that doing 8x8 as the PSTN dial tone, also interjecting all the feature set and all these applications that Teams doesn't do. Hopefully that makes sense. Teams, PSTN, pros, cons. Pros, fully integrated, right? It's a great thing. A single bill, sure. Cons, right? Limited international, it's expensive, no live tech support, pay-as-you-go tech support, limited contact center functionality, limited analog support, legacy call routing difficulties, no eFax support, no call recording, limited reporting, no SMS integration. Oh, you know what I don't even have on there is like no redundancy. How do I not even have no redundancy on there? Like literally, that's my favorite thing. Like if Teams goes down, you launch whoever's direct routing provider you're with, their client, and it's business as usual. So, cost generally is the same, if not cheaper, and I think you get a better experience. So that's Teams. Let me go over and see how many questions we have on some Teams here. Charles doesn't see my slides. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you all see my slides. Thanks for understanding the new. Okay, from the cloud. Yes, so sorry, anonymous attendee. If we move to the cloud, will we need to replace our ShoreTel 230 desk? Yes, the IP 230 is 15 years old. It's MGCP. It's not even SIP. It'll never work. So the 230s are great, paperweights, but you waste them, please. So we're wrapping things up. We got about 5 minutes left, so thank you. What we see, so this is now not Teams, it's not 8x8, this is just in general. What we see as challenges impacting a cloud migration. We've done 300 of them so far. And what are some of the problems we see, right? So if we don't get endorsement from your C-suite, you don't even get the project through, but say somehow you got the project through, and now your C-suite hasn't embraced it or endorsed it from the top down, telling them, the Simon Sinek, the reasons why, like we need to tell them why we did this and why we're doing this and how we're doing this and when we're doing this, and just kill them with notifications and understanding of what this project means. So stakeholder engagement. Resources. Some people feel like, oh, we signed the deal. Okay, go implement it. Like, whoa, time out. We need some help, guys. There's got to be some resources from your side, part of this. And again, Packet Fusion is here to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but we still need some resources internally from your organization to help us get to have a good implementation. We also need to do needs analysis, UAT, user acceptance testing, all those kind of things. Lack of engagement from business units, right? So we generally like to go to all the different business units and talk to them and see how we can enhance their productivity and get things going better. If we don't do that, we cut over and they're like, wait a minute, this thing's not working how I thought it would. Well, you never talk to us. So let us come in and interview all the stakeholders. And last is the solution requirements, like lack of accurate data results. So we want to go get good data out beforehand so we can accurately provision and program and make sure the next generation tool is working correctly. So a lot of risks, right? So this is kind of a going on from the last one. Project communication, right? If there's poor communications, lack of carrier support, lack of technical guidance, no user training, there's no post-live, co-live sessions, and there's no documentation. So these are things that we do, and we make sure any cloud deployment you guys do is nailed. So again, the recommendations, we can come in at any point along here and help you with your cloud transition. We can start from the very beginning and doing a very simple questionnaire about what we think we should do. And from there, sometimes guys say, listen, okay, go put in talk desk, go put in dial pad, go put in 8x8. Just from that, let's skip all this RFP process. Or most people say, well, we want to do a full needs analysis, and we go through our process. So who do we generally recommend for this type of engagements? Direct routing. This is a lot of direct routing here is 8x8. So they have direct routing. So they do hybrid where you could have Teams, phone, and 8x8. I mean, Teams client and 8x8 client working simultaneously, ring on both of them at the same time. It's pretty cool. It's also a Teams replacement. If you don't want to go Teams, you can have 8x8 by itself. It's redundancy and it has legacy functionality. Ring Central, that's a horrible icon, by the way. I'm sorry. Great Mitel relationship, super unbelievable incentives, super easy for us to get you there. They have direct routing. They have hybrid, kind of what I already described, but they also have embedded dialer, which I talked about earlier, where they can simply just click a button and then the Ring Central client, you don't have to buy the $7 PST, the $7 client add-on from Microsoft. Teams replacement, redundancy, and legacy functionality. Zoom. We're one of Zoom's biggest fans and providers. Obviously, we're on it right here. I have it in my office. Zoom Voice, we've got about 45 customers of ours on Zoom Voice. They don't do direct routing. They do embedded dialer. So when you click inside Teams, Zoom will launch for the voice. It's a Teams replacement, some legacy functionality in their existing vendor of you. And then a lot of people have a pure play Microsoft partner. And so Evolve IP and Call Tower are two providers that are true gold partners of Microsoft. And so you're not dealing with just a carrier, you're dealing with a carrier and a Microsoft partner. So the real takeaway is let us come help. Government contract vehicles, we have a bunch of them. I'll skip through that. And last slide or two more slides and we're done. So we start with a solution impact assessment, right? What does your digital transformation look like? How's it work? We want to then do a solution audit where we come in afterwards, after a whole plan is done afterwards, and make sure what we did for you was what we said we were going to do for you. Are you getting the perceived values out of what we provided? Are you truly getting that out of it? Did you do this project for a reason? And we have to validate that reason. Then we want to come back and do a tech stack assessment and add on better networking, better security, better colo, better MSP practices, and then come up with a digital strategy plan for you to deliver a little bit later. So we are becoming a cloud advisory channel. Listen, I'm still going to support ShoreTel. We're still the best. I'm never giving up on it. I still have 300 customers on it. I'm never going anywhere on that one. Quite frankly, it's our lead source to get to the cloud. So we're doing our dangdest and our best to keep everybody happy and satisfied. And if you're not on that side, get a hold of me and let me know why. But the plan is that you like us so much, you're still going to use us to get you to the cloud for UCaaS and CCaaS. We're in your right business there. And then we can hopefully sell you guys other things, networking, security, et cetera, et cetera. So the conclusion, stay on Connect for as long as you want. When you're ready, let Packet Fusion help you get to the cloud, and don't do it alone. So, an hour and 2 minutes. Let me see here. Is there any? Let's get some questions. For analog endpoints, are they using ATAs? Yes, there are ATAs. How realistic is Teams? How often realistically is Teams down? Like call an issue 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, but I don't really call any other full outages. Teams voice is a different thing than just Teams. I can agree with you. Teams generally stays up. Teams voice is a little more fickle, so that's how I would reply to that. How is network connectivity impacting cloud rollout? Wow, what a great little softball. It is, let us help. How many people, what you're doing, cloud connectivity, DIA is enough. We want to put some kind of SASE, SD-WAN on top of it. You know, SD-WAN was cool years ago. Now they're doing SASE, which is security and network optimization in the same box. We've got ways of doing things for work at home with software optimization on a laptop. So Network connectivity is big on cloud rollouts. Absolutely. I think I got all the questions. Well, here's a pretty, wow, this is a deep one. Somebody appreciates what we're doing. He says, they're a little concerned about broadening your scope as a reseller. You'll be diluting my ability to get best in class support. Thoughts? Love it. Brent, great question. Listen, there's not a ShoreTel, Mitel VAR out there that is not going to the cloud. If you stay on premise only as your business model, you will not be in existence in 5 to 10 years, right? If you looked at my history, we've been doing this for 20 years, from digital to, voice over IP to UC to UCAS and now to cloud advocacy. I have to evolve or else I go away. So I won't even be here to provide best in class support for you. So it's a great question. What I will commit to you that I still will provide best in class solutions for you, a service for you. The good news is, as a business, the upgrades, it's not as resource intensive for me to support you once there's not new feature sets and not as many upgrades, those kind of things. So I will still have the ability to have top-notch people on staff, which I still do. And I will always support my 300-400 customers. We're actually adding 5 to 7 new premise-based customers from other VARs who have given up. We'll probably buy some here too, but people find us all day long because we're doing so much better than everybody else. And again, my goal is to keep you guys as happy as possible. When it's time to go to cloud, you think of us, and we'll come in and give you the reasons why you should go with us to take you to the cloud. Hopefully that was good enough, Brent. Let's see. Okay, thanks for the presentation. Oh, thoughts on Nextiva as a cloud solution? Yeah, I mean, we've got 5 or 6 people on Nextiva. We like Nextiva. I think, as a forward-looking statement, there's an amazing amount of roll-ups that are about to happen. I mean, there's a rumor that Ring Central is going to buy 8x8. That's a big rumor, but it's out there. Fuse was bought by 8x8. Nextiva, Dialpad. I mean, everybody's going to get bought by somebody. Is it a good solution? Absolutely. We love it. We sold a bunch of them. Are they going to get rolled up by somebody? Absolutely. So Nextiva will be bought by somebody in the next year or so. And then what does it mean? I don't know. Generally, everybody does a pretty good job when they move forward to the next generation, to the next person who bought them. But it's something to think about. Thank you, Charles. All right. I think that is all the questions. That is all the polls. I'm going to end it. I thank you for your time, and you'll be getting the recording from this here shortly. Thanks, guys.